Hello and welcome back to the r/civ Battle Royale. I'm Burgerkrieg, your narrator for today, reading slides by the_Enigma Conundrum, which is a very redundant username, as a last-second narrator. Now let's get right into the recap. Last part we had a few cities get taken by the OCP, mostly by the Bucks and Iceland. However, the Boers also had taken most of North Africa and Ethiopia by the end. We also saw the rise of the Alliance to take out the most deadly threat on the cylinder, Japan. Also, with some strife on the Yakutia-Inuit border, we have quite the exciting part lined up. Title card by Get the Popcorn, and you might have noticed me pronouncing Boer correctly after all these years and decades of doing it wrong, because I found a cool website that lets you hear how words are pronounced. I can also say Maori now. Ain't that fucking great? The power rankings this time show that the Inuit have the #1 slot in their cold dead hands, and have tightened their grip to be colder and deader also. We'll see if they hold this position or if it's temporary. Here is the map from last time, notably showing the flip of some Boer holdings, as well as the Inuit advance into Yakutia. Carthage has been lost to Iceland, Kumasi to the Buccaneers, and the Iceman cometh into Yakutia, which was already said. Why does this say this here twice? Here we have a population density map from part 72. Noticeably, population is very low in western North Africa, most likely due to the sheer amount of city flips. On the same continent happen to be the highest population cities, naturally including Manza Congo. Most of eastern Finland and western Siberia are still recovering their populations from the war a few parts ago, and Mexico has lost most of its population to Australia and the Bucks. Now onto the relationship charts. Here we see the remaining members of the OCP, containing Iceland, Brazil, Vietnam and Ethiopia still at war with the Boers. We also see the anti-Japan coalition, with the members that can do nothing in the war, and also the Kimberley. Some other miscellaneous wars, like, is it miscellaneous actually? I think it's miscellaneous. Like Armenia versus Israel and Sweden still trying to take Dvin. Hasn't Malok suffered enough? Here we see a shot of Messina and Loango, one Boer island city and one former Congolese city. They're well packaged in orange carpeting and close to the core, so it's unlikely we'll see them redecorated anytime soon. Now here is Harrismith, another Boer settlement. Being a one-tile island, it isn't highly sought after by their current enemies. It still does have a hover tank, a historical caravel, and some fleet surrounding it, however. Here we get a shot of what's left of Etharabia. Notably, the Boers now own Mecca, putting another capital under their control. Bethlehem, Damascus, and Najran are all in the red, so they could flip soon. If you look to the north, Gaza is in the yellow, spelling trouble for David. Brazil has made peace with the Boers. Only briefly flipping a city, they weren't much use in this war, but they did more than Siberia. Vietnam seems to be somewhat inactive against the Reich, leaving this war mainly to the Bucks and Iceland. With this peace treaty, we also have a nice shot of the Brazilian core, which is well defended by their carpet, also happening to be one of the most intact carpets. Looking at you, Kruger, Kekkonen, and Kuchum, all of which start with a K. So maybe that's relevant somehow. Maiev key is now primed, as Gaza is in the yellow and has 3 Armenian paratroopers next to it, as well as Tiridates reinforcements a little bit to the north. We may witness Israel's second death soon. Genghis is trying to take Konu from Mongolia, but with little luck. He's using helicopters on cities, which doesn't work. The horribly slow conqueror with an extremely inefficient army needs a different type of unit. The Finnish corps is somewhat sparse, lacking a large amount of units. I guess when you're not at war with anyone, you can go relax in the sauna instead of carpeting. The Inuit definitely have the upper hand here, having flipped 2 border cities and having XCOMs and GDRs ready to fight the Yakuts. We'll see if they continue to take more cities. Genghis has gotten a modern armor next to Konu. Mongolia can now capture the city from Darkhan, provided the modern armor doesn't get killed first. A shot of the Siberian core shows that they have almost no carpet. Fun fact, there are more workers than units here. Carpeting 101. always have more units defending than you do civilians, you dumb fucking pricks. The Buccaneers make more gains as they take Nuevitas and Carthago Nova. They may revive part of Africa, but not the whole thing. That much land is lost to the Borg now. Like the Boers, but with the Borg, you know, the cube aliens from Star. That's a funny joke, man. If you're not laughing, there's something wrong with you. It's happened, everybody. Israel is dead again. Starting in a crowded region with the Ayyubids, Arabia, and Armenia, David didn't have much of a chance to expand. He died about 30 parts ago, and being revived in part 63 with an awful city left him in an awful position, and Ethiopia citadeling said city didn't help either. The Israelites did found the religion most of Europe and part of Central Asia follows though, so that's a plus for them, innit? We can see the last 2 Jewish missionaries and a guarded inquisitor in Ethiopia. The missionaries will likely spread Judaism and fade, but the inquisitor can't be used. If he does get used, which he is unable to be used, then we're in for a shock because it would mean that David has been revived. Nobody expects the Jewish Inquisition. Okay, the Borg are angry. Like from Star Trek, the ones that go, "Resistance is futile, you gon' be assimilated now, nigga," is what they would say if they were racist depictions of black people, which they're not, so, you know, please don't kill me. Anyway, they have 2 nukes right outside of Kumasi and may use them. You can hear their army chanting, "You will be assimilated" at the pirates, which is, as I said this earlier, where I explained to you what the joke is. Resistance is indeed futile, which also, that is also part of the joke. It's really funny if you just... It is funny, really. A second slide showing Kumasi, but without any display there. It doesn't look good, especially with a nuclear threat peering in through the window. With a small amount of land surrounding it that isn't Boer, it won't be very useful to the Bucks if it weren't a capital. The old Ashanti land is one of the things that made this a worthwhile capture. The Korean Corps has fewer units than most, but they're bleeding edge technology. They have robot infantry next to Yokosuka and Finnish peacekeepers, definitely not ready to snipe a city near Hiroshima, ready to make more border totally just there to keep the peace, you guys. The Boer Corps has a large navy near it, and many paratroopers needing an upgrade, as well as a great musician. What would Boer music sound like? Being basically cyborgs at this point, would Skrillex be almost like Beethoven to them? Here we see Iceland's core with an armada full of empty carriers and cybersubs. Full of empty. Yes, I see what you almost certainly did not do on purpose there. It's good, it's good. Is that a Swedish privateer? Seriously, Gustavus, you need an upgrade. Any major power could beat that. And probably most minor powers too. The AI always has a massive stash of gold. Well, here's something to use it on. This slide ain't got no text to it. In this image, taken from a low-budget Buccaneer biodrone made from Boer scraps, a Polaroid camera and duct tape, the Reich is sending a GDR to take Baster back from Henry Morgan. Also, in the bottom left corner you can see the comms within the Babylonian submarine. 2 hours to what? The arrival of the shooting star? Yakutia has taken Ruskoye Ustia from Akunik. Trigger Khan is going to rap to commemorate his victory. Hopefully he finishes it before the Inuit take it back, but he can reuse it when the Yakuts probably flip the city again. Genghis has done it. He took Konu. That one modern armor made it, and now it is his. The horribly slow conqueror finally managed to pull off a proper city capture. Happy times for all of Mongolia. I guess that's why you don't fight the Mongols when you have a Great Wall. Even if it's obsolete, they will always get through it eventually. Here we see a masterpiece of Finnish border gore, courtesy of the artist Kekkonen. Also, the Siberian Worker Battalion and the Finnish Worker Corps seem ready to fight. Which civ can build enough roads in the other's territory to try and screw over their economy? Holy crap, that's a lot of nukes. Iceland seems to be serious about winning against the Boers. Of course, the radiation in the Reich is difficult to increase at this point, but there's no shame in trying. In Cork, Ingolfur has jet fighters instead of nukes, but still enough of an air force to damage some Boer cities. Maybe Iceland will hold more than Carthage and Olympia now. Another wing of the Icelandic nuclear force is in Lyon, much closer to the Boers. This and the Reykjavik nukes could put a serious dent in their northern holdings. Iceland is hoarding nukes like a certain Indian warlord who shall remain unnamed. The Boers took Novitas back, and their army is approaching the Basque cities in the red, including Rabat, Marrakesh, Baster, Ciudad del Carmen and Bamako. These could easily be flipped by the Cyber Boers if Kruger put in a little more effort. The unexpected Inquisitor is seeking sanctuary in Jericho. Good choice. Every other Ethiopian city is in the red, but Jericho is undamaged. He may be safe there. Or the Boers could just march around it for a few days, playing their futuristic dubstep until the walls crumble. Now we see that Serbia has units close enough to take Kabul, and Afghanistan should be worried. Once Kabul is Siberian, it's a perfect doorway into the rest of the country. This could be all Kuchum Khan needs to defeat Hotak. The Boers have reclaimed Utique and Carthago Nova from Morgan. This is a small push on the Bucks. Gades is also soon to fall, and with Marines, which, by the way, great job Henry, way to stay on top of the fucking tech game, you moron, they aren't likely to take either city back. A mobile SAM is now embarked to take Saleh from the Buccaneers. A hover tank has weakened the city, but the mobile SAM could take it. Let's see if this happens soon. The Yakuts have a rocket artillery weakening their old city of Kanu. It's in the red, so we could see a flip yet again. In other words, not much happening except population getting lowered, which is a great euphemism for genocide. Here is the strategic view of the northern part of Siberia, Mongolia and Yakutia ranked by who holds the least irradiated land. Lots of nuclear fallout everywhere in the Russian tundra. Here we see the incredibly nuked Yakutian Inuit border. It seems that the Inuit did use that nuclear missile we saw earlier. The first of many, it seems. The Moroccan musketmen are heading for Vietnam after too much time being trapped by the Boers. Maybe they'll get trapped by the Vietnamese instead. Cornu has been flipped back to brown and blue. Genghis has made no headway here, so he's back to being the horribly slow conqueror. He did seem to lose the helicopters for cities, so that's a plus, maybe? The single Kimberley missile cruiser near Osaka is nearly dead. I guess Jandamarra won't kill Meiji yet. Korea's favorite animes won't get cancelled, so there was much rejoicing in Seoul. Kimberley, Indonesia has enough of a navy to take on Osaka if they want to, so why aren't they? The AI at its best, folks, carpeting over fighting. Iceland has a stealth bomber in Sparta. Sparta also has 0 health, and all that's needed is any Boer unit nearby. Unfortunately, there is absolutely no Boer units nearby. Here's the strategic view, showing the almost dead Osaka in the red. There's also a backup Kimberley missile cruiser, as highlighted by T-Pang. Even if the first one dies, Jandamarra can still finish off Japan. It seems Ruskoye Ustye has flipped back to being Inuit. Darkhan is no longer rapping, but he has something much more solemn for his loss, which I will now attempt to rap, even though it isn't even a rap, so clench your assholes, because this will be terrible.
Is this real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in the war zone. Escape from Ruskoye Ustye.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I want to kill myself now. However, a Kunik needs to step up his game and make more advances into Yakutia. Brazil's peacekeepers are also getting in the way, so Pedro is partially causing such a stagnant war. Here's a reflipped Cornu back to Genghis, with more helicopters of course. He just can't stop trying to capture cities with units unable to capture cities. A mobile SAM did the job though, so it doesn't matter. Our first major shot of Mexico, or basically Fallout 5 at this point. They've been nuked too often to count. Ciudad Juarez and Monterrey are in the red, making them easy targets for the Bucks and the Strayans alike. The Boers seem to have 4 drone fighters within proximity of Olympia and Gades. Maybe that's why the cities are always so low in health. Hippo Regis has no health at all, and an Icelandic unit nearby ready to claim their first landlocked African city. Carthago Nova and Nuevitas have both flipped back to black. The Bucks have reclaimed the two frequently flipping cities. By Kruger's turn, they'll probably flip again based on the way this part has been. Here is the victory progress menu. All other victories are disabled obviously, but the domination progress is quite complex. Iceland is the current winner, controlling 7 capitals. We will see how the Boer Wars changed this, as Kruger controls multiple capitals also. Mbanza Congo, Mecca, Nyeni, Ulundi, Cairo and Pretoria are all somewhat possible captures by Iceland, Vietnam and the Buccaneers. Another shot of the Berg Armada, stationed near Umgungudlovu and Nongoma mostly. Remember them? The really funny Star Trek joke? Ah man, that is just wow. I mean, good times, am I right, friends? Yeah? Nobody? Please? Also, here is a very lost member of the Wobbegong, as well as the Persian privateer. Maybe Kruger will trap him, wanting a replacement Ashanti pikeman. Nothing can replace Osai, but the boss can try. I didn't mention this earlier because of the death of Israel, but a Kunik is plotting against the Persian privateer. He'd have to go a long way and through the Bermuda Triangle known as the Berg Armada. Boom, bitch! Double hilarious pun. I can barely hold on to my piss right now. I'm incontinent, please send help. That'll be about as useful as the Boers killing the last legion, which it also says here that they want to do that. The only thing of note here is a possible Boer-Mongol war. The Grand Spy Master TPangolin shuffles his spies, with M in Kandahar, Ishtar in Osaka, and Semiramis in Ciudad Juarez. I feel that at least one of them will be fleeing their city soon. Henry Morgan tires of the sea and builds a Vertol. This could be a problem for Benito, as Vertols have 80 attack strength and also happen to be faster than... I don't know what, it just says faster here. It is a helicopter unit, so no city captures. But it is a little stronger than... Again, that same problem, it doesn't say anything, it just doesn't say it. Iceland has railgun armor in Boer lands. Only slightly stronger than modern armor, however it is easily positioned to take either Hippo Regius or Congo Dian Laza. The unexpected Inquisitor is wandering towards Gaza, hoping to maybe take it back with the crossbows. This isn't how it works, David, so please don't try. Stay in Jericho, it's much safer there. With no flips in this area, the thing of note is the UN meeting in 5 turns. They're trying to pass Judaism as the world religion and an embargo on the Mongols. I don't think the former will pass, but I doubt anyone in, say, the Americas really cares about the Mongols. Damascus was just nuked off the map apparently. Ah well, Najran looks likely to fall soon, especially with a Boer GDR nearby. This only leaves Etherabia with Jericho, partially surrounded by Hawaiian peacekeepers. Also, is that a Hawaiian marine I see near Najran? Will they snipe a city? Here is the strategic view shot of the same region with the fallout surrounding the land that used to be Damascus. Baalbek and Cairo seem to have been hit pretty hard by nukes, showing the Boers have quite the recovery stage coming. The Kimberley missile cruiser still circles Osaka, which has healed quite nicely. It seems Japan will survive another day, keeping Korea quite happy. Here is a shot of the Strian Philippines, with the Kimberley military passing through. I may have to eat my words on the last slide, as Jandamara is sending his real army through to attack. This may be worse for Japan than Yakutia's brief conquest of Osaka. Nedong is doing somewhat well at a population of 4 with Siberian workers, Armenian infantry, 2 cannons and a Finnish caravan passing through. Unless Tiri wants more land from fellow rump states, this should be relatively fine. If they will not accept leg day, then they will not live. Seriously though, Sparta can build nukes now. We may get another blaze of glory like Texas or the Maori. Weapons other than the Abward soldiers will bode quite well for Leonidas. Here's the Yakutsa Beer Boerder, and oh god are those artillery units I see around Turinsk. Seriously Kuchum, you're nearly as bad as the Boers in upgrading. That's just awful. Industrial-era weapons don't work with future worlds' weapons. The Buck naval carpet is quite solid, with T-Pang highlighting that they have mutants now. Also, next to the mutant is a great merchant. Henry Morgan seems to be trying to bring back Bring Your Merchant to War Day from the beginning of Mark II. A ball nuke is close enough to land in the Buck fleet, slowing them down, possibly allowing the Boers to retake these cities. However, there are a couple of Icelandic ships to the south of the Buck fleet, acting as backup. Iceland seems to have a solid hold on Olympia. Carthago Nova is low on health, meaning it could flip soon, especially with the Boer GDR nearby. Carthago Nova and Utique are in the black, with not a single Boer melee unit in sight. I'd focus on that, but the Buccaneers' Italian holdings are being damaged, though they probably won't be taken, much like Sparta. It seems there are more workers here than any Boer units that can actually capture cities. Jericho is now in the black, and the Boers have a chimera next to it. Etherabia will fall soon, or it may not. As far as we know, Najran is still alive, so Selassie is still safe. The Boers have Rabat and Novitas back, and Bamako is in the black, also without any units for taking cities. Great job, Kruger. You are a good strategist. Sarcasm wink wink. Kruger had himself flown out to Harrismith just to say goodbye to Osai Tutu one last time. The pikemen are leaving Africa to explore the world. Maybe they will meet the Burmese musician soon. Maybe they will find a new land. Either way, all of the Boers are sad to see their medieval friends go. Ciudad Juarez could be taken at any time if Morgan gets there with one of those units from Guadalajara. Torreon has been retaken from the Aussies as well, only leaving Parks with Baja California. Here are two Inuit nukes near Kamchatka, presumably to aid in the Yakut border conflict. These bombs will further irradiate the already inhospitable lands. It's like if Hiroshima and Chernobyl had a massive child. Here we get a shot of the Buck-Brazil border, with the incredibly sparse Buck lands and the heavily carpeted Brazilian lands. Pedro could unify South America if he chose to, but due to diplomatic modifiers from the OCP, this wouldn't happen right now. Shame. I was almost ready to see the GCP shitposts. The Boers must have finished their 6th day of marching around it because Jericho has almost fallen. The Hawaiian Great General is here, increasing my hope for a snipe by Kamehameha. A capital has been lost. Before anyone posts about which capital was lost, I checked the minimap. It was Kabul. Sibir has taken Kabul. I fear Afghanistan will fall shortly after this, as it's a gateway into the graveyard of empires, not Dvin, the other one. Also, the Boer lands are irradiated beyond hope at this point. Even if they had a worker carpet to rival Sibir's, it'd still take forever to restore their population. Etherabia has really buffed up the defenses of Najran, so even if they do lose Jericho, they still have one city that could hold out for a turn or two. Another slide on Mongolia and Yakutia. With Konu somewhat in his grasp, Genghis will keep one city from this part at least. He also seems to be going on the offensive to attack Darkhan. Here's a shot of Borgholm, apparently with drone fighters and mech artillery. There's a small delegation from the Swedish Armada here ready to fight. They won't be doing any of that for a little while though, as they'd have to go all the way to Dvin through the hell zone that is the Buccaneer Mediterranean and Boer North Africa. For now, they'll stay near Helsinki, bothering Topkek. Info Addict slides. Australia is number 1 in military, surpassing Vietnam by a decently large amount. Iceland has the Boers beat at number 4, and the Bucks are out of the top 10, placing at 11. Australia is still number 1 in land area, because they haven't had any major gains or losses in a while. The Boers follow at number 2 with only 2/3 of the amount Strya has. It's close from there, with the Inuit about the same size, the Books disproportionately lower, and then on pretty much like that. The Inuits still lead the city count, closely followed by Australia. The Boers are catching them, however, with 93 cities. Australia has 103, and the Inuit 105. The other side of the city count is Mongolia, with 13 cities. After that is the Kimberley and Mexico with 10, and then come all the rump states. Sri Lanka has 4, Armenia 3, RIP Israel, Tibet 2, Ethiopia 2, Afghanistan 2, and Texas, Japan, and Hawaii at 1 city. Iceland leads in great works by almost double of Australia, the number 2 here. With 30 as opposed to 18 by Straya, Iceland is truly the artistic epicenter of the cylinder. Within religions, Catholicism has 196 cities, leaving them as the leaders. Judaism is at 146, Oriental Orthodoxy still mostly belongs to Africa with 103 followers, and the numbers just keep going down until Islam with 6 followers in the whole world. The party prophet is more of a legend than anything else, having been long dead from liver failure. Few still follow his teachings. We end things with a religion map showing the same thing as usual, but with one twist. Religion is getting nuked and flipped out of some cities, notably ex-African cities and some Asian ones. This has been an interesting part and we hope that all of you enjoyed it. This has been Burgerkrieg, reading for the _Enigma Conundrum, and I wish you all a great day.